Today's video is about a double-breasted blazer dress as you see it. So welcome back, my dear fashionistas. Hope you're all doing great. If this is your first time here, kindly subscribe to Yvonne Winifred UG and hit the notification bell so that you are notified whenever I upload a new video. So this is the beautiful blazer dress that we are making. Let us start. So I have this fabric and I've folded a part of it into two. This is going to be the back piece. It is 35 inches in length. You can do whatever length you want. And we are starting off by marking a line here on top, which is the shoulder line. So it is a straight line. On top, you have to make sure that you leave some sewing allowance. So guys, on this shoulder line, I'm just going to mark half of the shoulder measurement that I'm working with, which is 7 inches plus 1 inch because I'll be using a shoulder dart, plus half an inch for joining the sleeve. And I'll just add a 1/4 of an inch just for ease allowance. I don't want it to be so tight. So now from the top, I'm going down by 10 inches. I just want to mark the bust line down here. Then I'm going to consider, in this case, 15 inches. You can even consider 16, but let me consider 15 for the waistline. Then from there, I just go down by 9 inches to mark the hip line. So that's all. That is the hemline down. So now guys, I'm just going to start by marking off the neck width of 3 inches and the neck depth of 1 inch. This is the back part, so I don't want much depth. So the neckline I'm working with is a curved neckline, as you see, and I just want to thicken this line here so that you see it very well. So from where my shoulder measurement stopped, I'm going down by 1 inch for a shoulder slant. So I'm starting from where the neck width is to this 1 inch for a shoulder slant, and right away I just add half an inch for the sewing allowance on top there, like that. So guys, from this 1 inch shoulder slant, I'm going down by half of the armhole measurement that I'm working with. In this case, I'm working with 8 inches, and that is the chest line there. So I have to connect a line where I will carve my armhole from. But guys, whatever I have along the shoulder line on top here, I have to have the same along the chest line. So it is 8 3/4. So it has to be a straight line like that. So now moving on, I'm just going to mark half of the nipple to nipple measurement that I'm working with. In this case, it is 3.5 inches plus half an inch as the sewing allowance for the dart. And I'm just going to mark at 4 inches. So I'm going to mark the same 4 inches at the waistline, at the hip line, even along the hemline, then connect a straight line joining all those points like this. And after that, I come here at the shoulder and I want to get the midpoint of this line here, the shoulder line there, which is at 3 inches, and then I connect it onto the bust line like this. So here it is a little bit, curved, and that is all for now. So now I can just divide the bust measurement by 4. Then I'm just going to add the 1 inch for the dart allowance and also the sewing allowance of about 1 inch. If you want some ease allowance, you can go ahead and add it. So in this case I'm marking at 11 inches. Then I'm also going to divide the bust, I mean the waist measurement by 4. I add 1 inch for the dart allowance, that shoulder dart allowance, and 1 inch for sewing. So I also divide the hip measurement by 4. I add 1 inch for the dart and 1 inch for sewing. So whatever I have at the hip line, I'm going to subtract just 1 inch and mark whatever I get at the hem line, just to taper it in a little bit. So after there, I just connect my points to form the shape of this blazer dress. So if you have a ruler, you can use one. If you can use your free hand, it is also okay. And guys, if you want to first make a pattern of this blazer, it is also fine. But I just wanted to just mark right away straight onto the fabric. So now I have to shape the armhole. So whatever I have here at the armhole, I get its midpoint at 4 inches. Then I just carve out the back armhole. I will be shaping the front armhole later. So that's what I have. Now I can cut it out. Only the side markings. I will be cutting out the dart after cutting the front piece. So simply that is it. So you can even label them so that you don't mix them up. So now guys, moving on, I have another folded fabric in total like this, and this is going to be for our front. I have an excess of about 5 inches at the center front, and I'm bringing my back piece and I align it on top of this new folded front fabric, as you see, making sure that the sides are aligning very well. The sides will be the same, the only thing that will change will be the armhole. So now I just pin it down so that nothing moves, and then I can now start cutting out or marking the front marking. So I'm going to elongate this waistline that I have at the back from here where the back stopped or starts from the center back. I just elongate at the front fabric, or the fabric that I'm using for the front. So I'm just going to mark half of the nipple to nipple measurement, which is 3.5, but I have to add half an inch for the sewing allowance. So I mark 4 inches, and that's all we need for that double-breasted. So I'm just going to just draw a straight line up to the hemline, and that is what we need for that double-breasted blazer. And now I'm just going to consider the same neck width that we considered for the back, and then draw a straight line, and this is now the front neckline. So simply that is it, and nothing more. So now I can just straight away cut it out like this, removing the back piece and then the sides like that, and I mark where the front armhole curve will be, and then I cut together the both front and back piece. I cut out that dart. So that is what I have now. Two back side pieces, you have to label them so that you don't confuse them. And this is the middle piece of the back. So now whatever is remaining is for the front, 2 middle pieces for the front and 2 side pieces. So again, label them so that you don't mix them up. So that is what we have. Then moving on, we have to cut the sleeves. So I have 2 folded pieces that are the same, and the length is about 25 inches long, and the width, guys, on fold, it is half of the armhole measurement, which is 8 inches plus 1 inch for the sewing allowance. So from the top, I'm going to consider 4 inches and draw a straight line connecting those points like that. And now I'm going to draw a diagonal line from the apex like this, and from there I just get the midpoint of this armhole line, and whatever I get, I go up by half an inch, and then I just draw a curve, a little bit curved, and this is going to be the back armhole curve. So from there I also draw the front armhole curve, just the way you see me, from the apex to the midpoint of this diagonal line, and then from the midpoint towards the end, just simply like that. So the first one was for the back and this other one is for the front. So now for the wrist measurement I'm working with is 4 inches on fold plus 1 inch for sewing, which gives us 5. That's what I've marked, and now I can just connect these 2 points and the sleeve is also done. So simply that is it. I can just cut it out like this. So I cut out the back armhole curve first, and then I open up my 2 sleeves, right sides facing each other, and I cut out the front armhole just on one side. So the other side will be at the back, this other side will be at the front, because one sleeve is shared between the front and the back. So this side that will be at the front, I also curve it accordingly. So one side is deeper than the other, and those other sleeves. Let's move on. So now, guys, to cut the shawl collar, I'm going to measure from the waistline all this distance, and I can leave out that sewing allowance at the shoulder, and also whatever I get, I'll add it to the back neckline, and I leave that allowance, the sewing allowance, at the shoulder. So let us do that. So get your tape measure and measure whatever you have along the front. You can call it neckline. I have about 17.5 inches, but remember I also considered the sewing allowance. Then from when I add it with the back, I get about 21.5 inches, close to 22 inches. But remember, guys, that is on fold. So from whatever I got, I cut out a collar, and this is it, and it is on fold. So let me, guys, show you how I came up with this collar. So remember, we got about 22 inches, and it is going to be on fold for the entire collar. And guys, this piece we need 2, the lining and this piece. So I want my collar to be 3 inches plus 1 inch for sewing. That is 4 inches. That is what I have. So I measured 4 inches up to like the middle, and then towards the end I just curved it like that. So that is how I came up with this shawl collar. So let me just cut out this excess, and I'm going to use this same collar to cut out its lining, so there will be two. So guys, watch out for part 2. You will see how I came up with this beautiful blazer collar, how I sewed everything. So this has been only the cutting. See you when we are sewing.